is going on, everybody? King Friday here. I am here at the JB&A National Sales Meeting 2024, and I'm still here with Jason Perr from Perifery. How you doing?
Good, good.
Awesome. So you brought a toy here. We were talking in our podcast about Perifery AI. You've got it on your laptop.
Yep.
Ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah. Show me what's going on.
So what we're looking at here right now is we're looking at kind of the end results of what happens when you run AI Plus, specifically our transcribe and summarize workflow within Iconic. And so right now we're looking at a bunch of assets in here that when these assets or files first landed on storage, they didn't have anything other than the file name. But now, if I go into one of these like this one here, and I take a look at the metadata section on the left-hand side, we see all sorts of different metadata that is now a part of this asset. So the value of this, you think about this file when it first came to us said nothing other than the title, which said, how did the sriracha shortage happen?
Mm-hmm. Now, which was very sad, by the way.
Yes, it was a very sad time in history. I know I was concerned about what was going on. So we got this 14-minute news story, but that's all we had to go off of. So once that file lands on the storage, we instantly, or just lands into Iconic right now, we can instantly start processing it. We create a transcription, and then from that transcription, we send it to the language model. And out of the box, the first things we're going to create is first an updated title. So in this case, this one says the new title is The Complex Relationship Between Underwood Ranches and Huifeng Foods, Exploring the Sriracha Sauce Shortage. It's a little bit better than what we had manually tagged by a person.
Definitely.
But then it goes to a whole nother level with the summary, because everyone knows the kind of metadata we get when an assistant or someone else types in metadata, right? We're rushed. People are only going to type in whatever kind of metadata they can think of off the top of their head, and you get some basics. In this case, we have something that says this video provided describes the complex relationship between Underwood Ranches and Huifeng Foods, the maker of sriracha sauce. It delves into the reasons behind the shortage, including supply chain issues, weather-related problems, and a legal battle between the two companies. I ask you, how many files do you come across that have that much metadata?
Not at all. Not
None.
At all. No.
Right? I normally tell people, you're lucky if you get 20, 30%, but really it's 0%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
unless
then,
it's maybe somebody's first day.
Yeah.
They really want to show off, maybe,
well,
but probably not.
And that's the thing. That's what we've seen in the history with asset management systems is that you deploy an asset management system, they put out 30, 40 metadata fields, you train everyone up on it, you come back 2 months later, and hey, maybe 20 fields got filled out. Mm-hmm. You come back 2 years later, you're lucky if 2 fields are getting filled out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And never with that much metadata. Mm-hmm. But then it gets more interesting, because then we have things like the Spanish summary and the French summary and keywords. And then to be able to configure this is really easy and has a lot of power to it, because configuration is simply coming over to the admin, going to metadata, going to your fields, and then right here we have a field called AI prompts. On the left side is the metadata field, and on the right side is the prompt that you want to send to a language model to fill that field. So out of the box, we give an AI summary, keywords, and updated title. But then I was looking at it and I just said, you know, I know one thing AI models are really good at is speaking many different languages. And when an AI model does a translation, it's actually taking an understanding of the content and writing a translated new summary in another language, which is very different and much better, quite frankly, than trying to do a word-for-word translation of something. So I said, well, what if I wanted a French summary? All I did is come in here and take this prompt. Let me grab that out of there so we can read it here. And I made a prompt that says, generate a summary in French, not to exceed 500 characters, which describes in detail the action taking place in this video.
Wow, that's amazing.
Nothing else but adding that prompt, adding that field, and now I can have that for every single asset.
And you can have several, I'm assuming, quite a few of these.
You can have as many of them as you want. And at the moment, like I said, right now what's shipping today is leveraging the online service. It's leveraging OpenAI. So you are paying a bit for what you're using. But if we come down to the very bottom, we always keep track of the token count.
Oh, nice.
So awesome. In this case, generating an updated title, a summary, a Spanish summary, a French summary, and extracting all the keywords, number one, for a 14-minute video, only takes 13 seconds to process. Wow. And a token count of 3,388 tokens, which at the end of the day probably works out to about 3 cents. Mm-hmm. maybe 4 cents.
Yeah.
Right. So
Which you couldn't pay somebody to be so thorough.
No.
For 3 cents.
No,
Yeah.
you definitely can't.
No.
So that's the kind of power that we're looking at when we talk about these workflows. And then one other key thing is that when we are talking to customers about these things, we're being very much selling these on a consultative kind of sale. So we always talk about, in an example here, right? We talk about how is content ingested? What are they doing with that content after ingest? And then how do they get it to archive? And this is where we're able to insert and talk about where AI Plus comes in. When are we going to enrich the metadata? So new content gets ingested here. In this case, we talked about it going to something like Lucid Link or some other kind of shared storage. And we say, well, hey, this is where, before it gets there, you want it to be enriched with all this metadata so your editors are able to start working with it. And then the editor goes and does their thing, and then they create their output of that new final deliverable. That should land on tier 2 storage as well, because now you want that protected, and you want that to get enriched with all the metadata again. Wow. And so we talk through these things, through these kinds of workflows, to be able to really build out something that's going to make sense for a lot of people. And that's kind of where it all ends up. So we got a lot of other fun stuff coming, but that's really the cool thing that's going on here right now is through something like Iconic, it's a great interface, but it's only one interface.
Well, last question. Is it possible to do speaker identification?
Definitely.
Really?
Yeah, so you can do speaker identification through the transcription modules. I believe the Faster Whisper one does it, but there's so many models out there. That's the key thing is everything we build, we never tie people down to one model.
Wow.
Everything is built so that the models themselves are interchangeable within the workflow. So we'll always suggest and deploy with models we believe are best of breed right now. But we don't force people to use the models we put. You can always swap out the model for another model of the similar type, and the workflow will normally just function. And, we're always testing and looking for people's advice and ideas of when they see other models that might be doing better at things. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this. This is, like I said, I think it's potentially the full next step for all of video production this is going to be required, is that you're just going to need something like Perifery AI Plus, and you guys are at the forefront of that. So I hope there's just continued excitement built from this. This is amazing. So absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for bringing this. Thank you so much for showing us. And this has been absolutely great.
Sounds good.
As always.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about this or any other Perifery products, definitely contact your JB&A sales representative. They would be happy to point you in the right direction. As always, I'm King Friday, and I'll catch you on the next one.